the modern data encryption algorithms, techniques. Okay, so we have seen in case of classical encryption techniques how they have helped us to find out the base which have uh, provided us the idea that how one can go for the uh, process of hiding the information. So we have seen some of the processes, or we have seen some of the ideas known as substitution and transposition, right? So with the help of those two or the mixture of those two, we can perform much more complex encryption, right? So today we are going to see some of the modern day encryption techniques, and a very famous technique indeed is named as data encryption standard. But before that, we need to discuss some of the basics which we require for that. So for that to have, first we need to understand what are block ciphers and stream ciphers. So in the beginning of this subject, we have discussed what exactly we mean by block ciphers and stream ciphers, right? Block ciphers means we are trying to encrypt a block of data at a time. And in case of stream ciphers, we encrypt the data bit by bit, or the data which we are trying to encrypt is very small in size. Okay. So what we have learned from classical ciphers is if you try to improve, or if you want to improve the security of the system, then we should encrypt multiple letters at a time, right? So this is one of the observations which we have got from the classical ciphers. So the examples which we have seen is Playfair cipher, right? Where we were trying to encrypt the multiple letters at a time. So that was the better one as compared to some other classical encryption techniques such as Caesar cipher, right? Apart from that, uh, one more observation is that we can use multiple ciphertext alphabets, and we call it as a polyalphabetic ciphers. Apart from that, uh, we can combine these two techniques together. Okay, so that will provide you the much stronger form of encryption. So these were the basic observations which we have got from the classical encryption techniques. Now let us see how we can treat a block ciphers. So in general, a block can be of 64-bit or 128-bit or of any size. But the thing is, it is going to have a multiple bits in it. Okay, so a block may be of any size. So in general, we take it with in 2's power. Okay, so these were the starting blocks where most of the block ciphers started working in the earlier days. So notably, most of the time the people do use 64-bit, 128-bit, and 256-bit, and 512 bits. So these are some of the famous blocks for DES and AES. And we can treat a block cipher as a monoalphabetic cipher. What does it mean? It means that if we have got a block, and if we have got such n blocks, so a single block can be treated as a alphabet. Okay, so over here A means this block has been treated as an alphabet. Similarly, if you got one more block, then that block can also be treated as an alphabet. So in block ciphers, each block can be treated as a separate alphabet, and this can be viewed as a gigantic character. So this is a character, but it's a gigantic character. Okay, so which is going to have this many number of characters. Now apart from that, if we have n number of mappings, or let us say this is the data, this is our data, and this is our ciphertext which we are going to get after applying the encryption. Okay, so each particular cipher is a one-to-one mapping from the plain text alphabet to the ciphertext alphabet, and there are 2 to the power n factorial such mappings. So what we are trying to say over here is, if we have got number of mappings, then these mappings are nothing but your key space. Okay, so there can be this much of number of keys. We can call them as mappings as well. So they will be unique mappings, and the key will indicate that which mapping we are going to use. Okay, so only that will define the security of the algorithm. Fine. So there can be number of mappings, and there will be the unique cipher text corresponding to their plain text. Okay, so key is going to specify that which mapping is going to be used. Fine. Now, if we talk about the ideal block cipher, then it is going to allow us this many number of mappings. But if we go by this many number of mappings, then the storage required for storing those many mappings is going to be very much infeasible. So what can be done if, let's say, we have got these many number of bytes? Okay, so in that case, if you go by 2 to the power 64 bit, then number of keys you are going to get, right? But storing those many number of bits or those many number of possible keys is not a wise option. So rather, what can be done? We can choose a number which is somewhat smaller to this number, but it is significant enough to provide the notion of security. So if we reduce this number by a bit, then that large key can be reduced by a huge amount. Okay, so in general, we try to use the key space. Let's hold on, just let me take. Sorry. So if we use a number which is somewhat lesser than n, but not much lesser. For example, if you got n equals to 64 bit, and if we go by k, which is somewhat 56 bit, then it is going to provide the ample amount of security. At the same time, the number of mappings are going to be reduced by a large margin. Okay, so that will be a good idea. And apart from that, what can be done? That the mappings can be taken as random. So that will provide the good approximation of the ideal block cipher. So these are some of the things which one has to consider while going for the block ciphers, right? So Husserl Fischl is a person, and he in 1970s proposed a method to achieve this one. So this is a very important one, and let us see what exactly is happening in this Fischl cipher structure. Any problem till now, students? Tanmay, Vishal?
No, sir.
Okay. So let us see how your Fischl cipher structure looks like. So in this structure, we have got a input in the form of a block data and a key. So two inputs are going to be there, and the data, for example, we have got a message. So this was, let us say, this was our original message. Okay. So whatever original message we have got, we have to first convert that message into number of blocks. Okay, so let's say we have converted our data into number of blocks, and of course these blocks are going to be of same size. Okay, so you can visualize your data in the form of a rectangle. Then you can just chop off your data into smaller blocks. Okay, so each data size or each data block will be of same size. Okay, so this is going to be a first block, second block, third, fourth, so on and so forth. Okay, so whatever data we have got, we are going to first convert that data into number of blocks, and then each block, for example, if you just take out this particular block, then this block is going to be divided into two equal halves. Okay, so let's say if this data consists of 64 bit, then this part will going to consist 32 bits, and this one is also going to consist 32 bit. Okay, so the data is going to be divided into two parts, and then these two parts are going to a number of rounds. So in each round, one of the part doesn't change while the other part goes through the number of operations. So we'll see what those operations are. Okay. So this is one of the round, or this structure of one of the round. So as discussed, that the data block of 64-bit has been divided into two equal parts, right? This is the first part and this one is the second part, right? And we call it as a left part and this one is the right part. Okay. So as one can observe that the right part is not changing and it has become the left part of the next round, right? While if you just try to observe the next round, then you can see that this particular round or this particular half is going through a mixer operation. So what this mixer operation is doing, that it is XORing this input with this one. And from where we are getting this input? This input was coming from the right part and a function was being applied on that right part along with a key. So the result was being XORed with this left part, right? And whatever was the outcome, that will become the right part for the next round. So in general, what I'm trying to say, that in each operation or in each round, some operations are being performed on the both the halves. So especially in one half, some things are being done and the second half is being placed as it is to the next round. Okay, so this is the general functionality of your phasor structure. Now there are total 16 number of rounds in that structure. Okay, so we have just seen the detailing of one of the round. Okay, so similarly 60 number of rounds are being performed in that Feisal cipher structure. Okay, so this is same thing. So this is the process for encryption and the reverse process will be applied for the decryption, right? So the moment we encrypt our data, we have to decrypt that data as well, right? So whatever encryption algorithm is there, it has to be successfully encrypt the message and it has to be successfully decrypt the message as well. So the implementation mechanism or the strategy for both the things has to be there and it has to be feasible. Okay, so these both the things are very important. Now all the parameters, which is LE, RE, or let it be LE0, RE0, okay, all these can be very well derived from each other. Okay, so as I've just explained, that we need to study the feasibility of all the encryption and decryption algorithm. We need to see whether that can be implemented in a product. Okay, so whether that can be commercialized or not, or whether it can be made for the production or not. Okay, or whether it can be applied for number of devices, number of applications, or variety of data or not. So for that, Feisal cipher structure provides a very good solutions where each and everything can be represented by the others parameters. So for example, if we just consider this one, LE16, where is LE16? Over here. Okay, so you can say that RE16 is nothing but your LE16 only. And if you go by LE16, what is LE16? Then you can say LE16 is nothing but your RA15 only. So one term can be represented by the another one or can be derived from the others. Okay, so this is how the process of encryption and decryption can be performed in general in Feisal cipher structure. Okay, and if you go by RE16, this one RE16, then we can say that it is the XOR of LE15 over here. Okay, we are talking about RE16, this one. So this is the XOR of this term and then the output of this term. Okay, so LE15 XORed with RE15 K16 function, or the function of RE15 and K16. So this one is RE15 and K16. Okay, so this is how you can represent these two terms. And similarly, for decryption, the same things can be applied. Okay, so the calculation for LD1 and RD1 has been shown over here. Okay, so you can just go through it. This is nothing special. For example, RD1 is nothing but your LD0. Okay, yeah, we are going for the RD1. Okay, so the RD1 is nothing but your, sorry, LD1 is nothing but your RD0. This one, right? And RD1 is the XOR of LD0 plus this output. So this output can be represented with the function of RD0 and K16. So again, the calculation for RD0 has been done. Okay, so RD0 can be written as RE15. So that has been written. And again, this RE16 has been evaluated earlier. So it can be represented by this term. So what I'm trying to say over here is that each term can be evaluated from the earlier terms, okay, by the process of substitution. So in general, the process of encryption and decryption can be established very easily. So this particular structure has provided the foundation for the implementation of many algorithms, and one of them is data encryption standard, which is a very widely acceptable encryption algorithm. So let us see what happens in this data encryption standard. So these are some of the key points regarding data encryption standard. So as I told you that this is one of the most widely used block cipher structure in the world, and it has been adopted by NIST as a standard way back in 1977. And in this particular algorithm, there are 16 number of rounds. So whatever data we pass to this particular algorithm, that data goes by 16 number of rounds for the processing. And if we talk about the block size, then the block size in this particular algorithm is of 64 bit, and the key size is of 56 bits. Okay, and then the specific thing regarding the DES is the design of its F function and how the round keys are being derived for the main key in each and every round. Okay, so these are some of the specific things, or you can say the characteristics of DES. So we are going to see them in detail. So there were certain number of objectives which have been kept in mind while designing this DES. So of course, the first objective is going to be the high level security, right? Then the algorithm, the proposed algorithm has to be completely specified. That means how that algorithm is working, what is the working principle of that algorithm, that has to be completely specified, and it has to be easy to understand as well. Apart from that, cryptographic security do not depend upon the algorithm security. So again, the same thing, if we are proposing any algorithm or any encryption algorithm, then it must not depend upon the cryptographic algorithm. It must have to depend, or the security must have to depend upon the key, not the algorithm. Okay, adversary may know what algorithm is being used, but if the adversary doesn't have the key, then they must not be able to decrypt the ciphertext. Okay, apart from that, the algorithm which is being proposed, or for any algorithm, it should be applicable or can be adaptable by the number of applications, or can be adaptable by the diverse applications. Then it should be economical. If we try to implement with the hardware, it should be efficient, can be validated easily, and can be exportable, right? Means it should be less in size and all. So these are some of the objectives which have been kept in mind while designing DES. Okay. So if we go by the working principle, then you can say that it worked on the principle of substitution permutation. Okay, so as I've been told earlier, that the input size is of 64 bit and the key size is of 56 bit, and it can achieve a very high throughput. Okay, and this throughput can be up to 100 megabits per second. Okay, apart from that, the availability of economical hardware to implement DES. So we just required some gates, number of gates, N gates, OR gates, NAND gates. So those are quite cheap and can very well be used to implement the DES. And it is low to medium security applications. So there are a number of applications where data transfer is very high. So we have to go for a security algorithm which is good in speed or can provide a high throughput. So for example, if you go by speech, secure speech communication, or some data which is in the form of video, right? So over there, a high data transfer rate is only observed. So in those applications or the applications where the high data transfer rate is required, and if you want to make them secure, then the algorithm like DES can very well be used. Okay, and this is the example of symmetric encryption techniques. Okay, remember that. So if you go by the design principle of DES, then it achieves the high degree of diffusion and confusion. What is diffusion? Diffusion means making each plain text bit affect as many cipher text bits as possible. Okay. So what I'm trying to say over here, so if we change something in plain text, then it must reflect in multiple changes at the ciphertext. Okay, for example, this is a plain text and this is the corresponding ciphertext. So if we are changing one bits in the plain text, then the multiple bits must be reflected, or the changes in the multiple bits must be reflected in the ciphertext. Okay, so this is what we mean by diffusion. And confusion means making the relationship between the encryption key and the ciphertext as complex as possible. So in case if somebody is, or the adversary has got the ciphertext, and with this ciphertext the adversary is trying to deduce the key, then adversary must find it very difficult or impossible to reduce this key with this ciphertext. Okay, so this is what we mean by confusion. Okay, and this we can say technically that the relationship between the encryption key and the ciphertext is very complex. Am I clear, students? Shivam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the general overview of DES algorithm. Okay, so as I have told you that 16 number of rounds are there in this particular algorithm, and before the first round some initial permutation is performed, and after the 16th round again one last inverse initial permutation is performed. Okay, as you can observe that in each round are different set of key or are different keys being supplied. In the first round K1 is there, in the second round K2 is being supplied, in 16th round K16 is being supplied, but initially we had only one key, right? So how these different keys are being derived and being supplied to each and every round, that also we are going to see. So I guess this we already discussed. Okay, and this process of diffusion and confusions is being achieved with the help of S boxes and P boxes. So we'll see what this S boxes and P boxes looks like. Okay, and again this is the same diagram. Yeah, so now what we are trying to do, we are just trying to exploit one of the round functionality. Okay, so now we are going to see the detailing of one of the round. So this is how the working of one of the round looks like. Okay, so again the input has been divided into two parts, right? One has gone through as it is and has become the one of the part for the next round, while the other round goes through number of operations and then it becomes the other part for the next round. Okay, so let us see in this particular function the data, this particular data is first going through some expansion operation. Okay, after these operations the data which we have got is of size, is having a size of 48 bit. Okay, so the thing which you have to note down over here is the input was of size 32 bit and the output is of size 48 bit. Okay, Then assume that we have got a key of 48 bit. So these two together has been XORed. Then the output which has been generated is of 48 bit size. Fine, no issue. Then again one more operation has been performed, and the name of this operation is substitution operation, and that has been done with the help of a S box. And after this operation, the data size which we have got is of 32 bit. Okay, so the input of 48 bit was there, and then the output which we got is of size 32 bit. Okay, then some permutation operation has been performed, and then the resultant 32 bit data has been finally XORed with the left part, right? And then this output will become the right part for the next round. Okay, so this much of thing happens in that function which we just discussed in the general overview of DES. Okay, and if we just try to decode the keys operation, then again key has also been divided into two equal parts. So earlier the key size was of the key was having size of 56 bits. Again the 56 has been divided into two equal parts. Okay, and each key then goes through some shift operations. So in this particular algorithm, some left shift operations are being performed. Okay, and then the data got after the shifting operations has been goes through or is will go through some permutation operation. Okay, so we'll see the detailing of this as well. So some permutations are being performed on these two data, then the result will be supplied to the this function. Okay, so after this PC2, the key size will be having of 48 bits. Okay, that you have to know them. So let us see how these operations works. Now this is your initial permutation and the inverse initial permutation. So this was performed before the first round, and this was performed after the final round. And let me tell you, there is no significance on the notion of security, even if we exclude these two together. Okay, why this has been included, why they have done it, there is no explanation from the people who has designed DES at that time. Okay, and let me tell you, it was designed by some IBM people and some security people, and it has took them 10 years to design this particular algorithm. Okay, even more than 10 years. But when the people ask that why they have included this one because it is not increasing any type of security, then they have failed to answer it. Okay, or you can say they have not disclosed it. Then this is how the explanation box looks like. Okay, so just see this diagram carefully. So let us say we have got an input of 4 bit. Okay, so first the 32-bit data can be divided into 8 equal parts. Okay, so if you got the 32-bit input, then we can divide that 32-bit data into 8 equal parts of size 4 bits each, right? So this was the input of 32-bit. Then each block will be borrowing some bits from the neighboring blocks. For example, if we just talk about this particular block, okay, then it is borrowing 1 bit from its neighbor present at the left and 1 bit from the block present in the right side. Okay, so this way this block of 4 bit will become a block of 6 bit. Okay, similarly if you go by the first block, then the right bit is going to append 1 more bit by borrowing 1 bit from the right side and 1 bit by having a block in a by considering a block in a circular shift manner. Okay, so this bit will be borrowed from the this block. Okay, so this way this block will again take 2 bits and at the end it will become a block of 6 bit. Okay, so that way at the end, in total, how many bits will be there? 48 bits. Okay, so this can be seen very well with the help of this table as well. Okay, so you can say this was the input, and then this 4-bit input has taken 2 more bit. The 1 bit has been borrowed from the 32nd position, and 1 bit has been borrowed from the 5th position, or you can say the 5th and 32 bit has been appended into this one. Okay, similarly, bit 9 and 4 has been appended into this one. So if you just form a table, then these many append operations can be performed to perform these operations named as expansion permutation. Okay, so that was all about your expansion box. Now there was one more important operation named as substitution box. Okay, so let us see this one as well. And in that case, the input which we had is of size 32 bit. Okay, so in the expansion box, the input was of size 32 bit and the output was of size 48 bit, which we just discussed. And in case of S boxes, the input which we supply has got the size of 48 bit, right? And again, that 48 bit has been broke into 8 equal blocks. Okay, so in this case, each block will be having a size of 6 bit, right? So this way, the total size of this input is going to be 48 bit. Now, the moment we perform some operations in this S box, the output which we are going to get is having a size of 4 bit. Okay, so let us see how exactly this particular operation is being done. Okay, where the input was having size of 6 bit and the output was having size of 4 bits. Okay, so in that S box operation, we have got number of S boxes. So these are some of the S boxes. So in this example, we have got 8 S boxes starting from S1 to S8. So these are the first 4 S boxes. Okay, and these are the rest of the 4 boxes. So let us see what exactly is being done. So let us consider that this is the input, 6 bits. Okay, so the middle 4 bits are going to give you the row number of this S box. Okay, which row to pick, and the first and the last bit is going to provide you the row number, and this 4 middle bits are going to provide you the column number. Okay, so that way you will be able to pick a entry from the S box. Okay, so let us say the input which was there was 0 0 0 1 0 0. Okay, so this was the 6-bit input. So the first and the last bit will be taken. Okay, so it will give you the row number. Okay, and the middle 4 bits will give you the column number. So this way the column will be first column and row will be 0th. Okay, 0th row. So you can say that this is going to be the row number and this is going to be column number. So this will be the entry, right? And if you convert this bit into the binary equivalent, then it is going to be something around 1 0 0, right? So you can say the output is 0 1 0 0. Okay, so this is how this operation functions. Did you get it, students? Priyanshu?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me ask, if I have got this input in this particular box, then what will be the entry?
Yes, sir.
For this input at S3, what will be the output.
Sir, 6.
6. Okay. Any other student? Srijan, Sumit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any answer?
So second row, 1 0, and ninth column.
Yeah.
1 0. Second row and ninth column of S3.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he is saying 3. One has said 6. Anyone else?
Sir, 1.
1 आएगा. So answer 1 आएगा, sir. Second row, ninth column.
Second row and column. I'm talking about S3.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So answer will be 1.
Okay. So second column,
Second row and ninth column
second row and ninth column.
of S3.
Okay. This one. This one, right?
So 1 will be there, sir. Of S3, sir. Second. Yes, sir. This one.
Okay. Okay, fine. So I guess all of you have got the idea. So in this case, 1 0 is going to be the row number, and this 1 0 0 1 is going to be your column number. Okay. So if you go by the number, then it is going to be 10th, right? And this is going to be the third one. Okay. So this is going to be the answer 1. So that means the bit which is going to be 0001. So this will be the final output. Is that right? Is that okay, students? I am waiting for the response.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we are going for the working of the keys. As we have seen that in each and every round are different keys being supplied. So this time we are going to see how that different key is being derived. Okay. So initially, as discussed in the initial slides, that it is not a good idea to consider all the bits, okay, because it is going to increase the key size unnecessary. It is going to increase the key space unnecessary. Okay. So what can be done? Or in this DES, some parity drop operation has been performed, and after that parity drop, the total bits which we have in hand for DES is of 56 bit in size. Okay. So in the first case, in the first place, some parity bit drop has been performed. Okay. And after that, the data or the key size has been reduced to the 56 bits. Okay. So how that parity drop has been done? So first the data has been arranged in this fashion. Okay. In the form of a table. Then the rightmost column has been dropped, or the bits which are there in the rightmost column has been dropped. So that way the data or the key size which we are going to have at the end will be having a size of 56 bits. Okay. Then this 56-bit data has been divided into two parts, two equal parts, right? And then some left shift operations are being performed. And now you have to note down a special thing, that this is a not same left shift operation for all the rounds. Okay. So what I'm trying to say over here is the left shift operations are being changed round by round. So if we are driving a key for the first round, then only left shift by 1 bit will be performed. Okay, or one left shift will be performed. Okay, left shift by 1 bit. And if you're talking about the other rounds, except 1, 2, 9, and 16, then the left shift operation by 2 bits will be performed. Okay, so for this 1, 2, 9, and 16, if you are in this round, then the left shift by 1 bit will be there. Otherwise, the left shift by 2 bits will be there. Okay, is that clear? Priyanshu?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After this, the data which we got after these left shift operations are being compressed, and then the resultant data which we have got in our end will be having a size of 48 bits. Okay, and what this compression box does, we'll see. So let us see, this is the data. Okay, and this is PC1. In general, we call it as a PC1, and this one is called as a PC2. Okay, permitted choice 2. So this has been arranged in the form of a table. Okay, and then if we carefully look into the first part, then some of the bits have been dropped. For example, 9 bit has been dropped, 18, 20, second, 25. Okay, so that way 4 bits have been eliminated. Similarly, if we just try to observe the second part, then again you will find that 4 more bits have been dropped out. So that way, after dropping the 8 bits from this 56 bit, you will get the output of 48 bits in your hand. Is that clear? So what this compression box is doing, it is dropping some bits out. Okay, by first it will arrange in the form of a table, then some bits will be dropped from it. Okay, and which bits are being dropped has been mentioned over here. Okay, so in the first part I have mentioned the bits. In the second part, you can find out the drop bits. Okay, and over here the schedule of left shift operations have been given. Okay, so in the first round only left shift by 1 bit will be there. In the second, again 1 by 1 bit. In the third round, left shift by 2 bit. In the fourth round, again left shift by 2 bit. So the complete schedule of left shift operations have been shown in this particular table. So with respect to the DES, one can go for, or one can study these effects, that what is the avalanche effect, what is the completeness, what is the strength of DES, what is the weakness of DES. So I will leave this one as a part of the assignment. You can just go and you can just explore what is the avalanche effect. Although we have discussed in diffusion and confusion, so let me tell you, first of all I will tell you, in case of avalanche effect, if you just change 1 bit in the plain text, then it is going to result in multiple changes in the ciphertext. Okay, so this is typically named as the avalanche effect. Okay, so similarly you can just study completeness effect as well, and then the strength and the weakness of DES. So what is special regarding DES is the design of S boxes, P boxes, and F functions. Okay, apart from that, the keys which we are going to provide in each and every round, that is also a very special design criteria of DES. So these are some of the design criteria of DES which they have kept in mind, and how those S boxes have been designed, that has not been revealed till date. Okay, because that designing was very, very special. So as I told you earlier, that it has took them 10 years to design them. So how they have designed it, they have not opened it. Okay, and the later part they have find that it was quite working very well against all the cryptanalysis attacks, linear attacks, okay, and the differential attacks as well. So that was the reason, because earlier they were aware about these attacks and the general people were not about performing these attacks. So that is why they have kept it a secret. So these are some of the interesting facts regarding DES. Apart from that, these are some of the keys which one should avoid while using DES, and we call them as weak keys. Okay, weak keys, possibly weak keys, semi-weak keys. So these are some of the keys which one should avoid while using DES. So I will just mention them in the form of some tables. Okay, So these are called as some weak keys. These are called as some semi-weak keys, and other ones are called as a possible weak keys. Okay, and that have not been listed in this line. So this is what I'm going to cover in today's class. So if there is any doubt, any confusion, then you guys can ask. Any problem? Any doubt? Suyash? Shushriya? Are you guys there or not?
Yes, sir.
Any problem?
No, sir.
Okay, Sushriya?
No doubt, sir.
Okay. Okay, then I'll stop today's class here only. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
And one more thing, one more
Thank you,
important
sir.
thing.